Hey everyone, today we have with us Mr. Amarpreet Kalkat, who is an alumni of IIM Kozhikode batch of 2004. He's a bike enthusiast and has taken roads less traveled. He's the founder of two technology startups, Humantic and Frrole. Humantic is basically a technology startup which provides web-based customer service, while Frrole is a social intelligence startup. And we'd love to hear more about these startups from the founder itself. So, hey Amarpreet, can you tell our viewers in detail about Frrole and Humantic?
Yeah, absolutely. So first of all, it's good to be here, Sanjay. Thanks for having me here. And yeah, it's been a whole bunch of years since I passed out of this place. But this place, first of all, I must say, is still as amazing as ever. Much bigger now. And my journey kind of started here in some ways. I'll come to that maybe in a little bit. But so at Frrole and Humantic, so what we do is provide consumer analytics and insights. So an insight into consumer behavior. We largely try to learn that out of social data. So what people are saying out there, what can we learn about the consumers, the market, and provide that to businesses that could serve the customer better if they have those insights. So Frrole was where we started. Frrole's a marketing analytics provider, so we largely work with B2C marketing teams. It could be, for example, a Flipkart or a Titan. It could be we work with some of the media channels, etc. So what is happening in real time about their consumers? Flipkart just finished Big Billion Days and Amazon was running Great India Sale. How did consumers react to it? Which worked better, which did not, which had issues, which not. You can go very deep into consumer psyche by looking at what they say on social media, right? So Frrole's been journey on the marketing analytics path. Humantic kind of has sprung out of what we've been doing at Frrole. So one of the things that we do, so we dive quite deep into consumer behavior when taking a look at social data. So one of the things we do is we try to understand the behavior of people right down to each individual. So for each individual, we try to predict, what they will do, how they will behave, what their intent is, what their personality is for that matter. So with Humantic's focused on HR recruitment right now. So HR has been doing soft skills personality assessment for 50 plus years. It's a pretty large part of generally any assessment process. So far they've used they use psychometric tests to evaluate anyone's personality, where someone has to go through attempt 30, 50, 100 questions over maybe an hour, half an hour. So we completely change that. So we predict people's personality without them having to take a test, by making use of data that's already out there about people. So there's the concept based off around 30 years of research in psycholinguistics, psychometrics, etc. So where you can predict someone's personality by looking at their language usage patterns, by looking at their social activity patterns. So it becomes a kind of disruptive, you could say, because something that required someone to take a test for an hour can now be done without any test at all. So that's what Humantic does. But they're both kind of tied at the hip in terms of take existing data, use that to learn more about consumers.
Nice, very nice to hear about all this technological aspect and how we can implement this in real life. But before, from working full time as an entrepreneur, you were working as a product manager, right?
Right.
And so how was your journey from a product manager to starting two full phase technology startups? Then what was your real inspiration in starting?
Yeah, so it goes back a long time. When I was finishing my engineering, which was in 2000, so a long time ago. You guys must be in primary school, I suppose. Yeah. So I got in. So there was kind of an AI wave late 90s or so too. So there've been 2-3 AI waves since it started. And now, of course, 2013, 14 onwards, there's again a very, very big impetus on AI. So I got interested in AI back then. So I wanted to build technology products. For a long time I wanted to do that. I wanted to build intelligent products. So that was sort of the thought. So it's in fact better, let me just add, if you find a market problem and then you devise what technology will solve that problem. That's a great way to become an entrepreneur.
Right.
It didn't happen like that in my case. So it was a little bit of, hammer looking for a nail, because the whole thing driving my thought was things need to be smarter, things need to be more evolved, they need to be more intelligent. So that had been the driving thought. 2010, fast forward there, post my MBA, post a couple of, I'd been a business analyst, I'd spent, time in a product manager role with Nokia, Trilogy. I said, yeah, it's been 10 years since I passed out. I'm still not building the kind of products I wanted to build. I'm just doing the same stuff that has been done, for a long time. So my take had been that it'll be good to be in a big company and build that, because these things take, enormous resources. So that's how it started with Frrole in 2011. Frrole in 2014, but the startup journey in 2011, essentially.
So you're working in a very niche market, and when you build a technological product, it melts down to gathering a team, very specific team, a specific set of competency. And how do you go about building your team? How do you go about hiring people, citing right kind of people for your organization? What was the kind of process you followed?
Yeah. So it's very far from what a textbook answer would look like. I mean, it's not that one day you want to build something and next day you go put together, a team, and the day after you building it out. So it depends, right? You got to have the resources. So sometimes it happens that it's great. It's probably the best thing. One thing I'll always stress on is that you should have a couple of co-founders. That's the best thing that can be. In my case, unfortunately, it didn't happen that way. I was joining a friend of mine as a co-founder, but he for some reason couldn't, hop on. So I had to start off by myself. I didn't want to wait. I don't like waiting. So then along the way, a couple of people joined me as co-founders. So that happened, but essentially I would say it happens in iterative steps. Yeah. So sometimes you get lucky, like you said, maybe you have a lot of money, maybe you have, 4 or 5 people, a great team, they're very skilled at it. You start with something and it just works and works. 99% of the time, or maybe 99.9% of the time, it doesn't work like that. So, so you have to iterate. So I started all alone. Then 2 people joined me as in a part-time role because they were excited about what, I wanted to do. So they built out kind of the first version of the product. They moved on at some point. By then, I managed to get 2 people, interested. They joined me full-time. So then that was 3 of us, for a while. Then we started getting some traction, then we raised some money, and then we started hiring some people. So I think almost about everything, whether it's how you build a product. So like someone asked me that, it's an AI product and how you build an AI product. The first version was not an AI product. It's completely okay. It was it was intelligent, but it was rule-based intelligence. Then it became somewhat intelligent. Now it's much more intelligent. I'm sure the next few iterations is going to be much, much more intelligent. So it happens in iterations essentially.
Amazing. So when entrepreneurs find something, he sets some kind of rules and goals. So if I ask you, what will be for you as a successful Frrole, what will be your goal of success?
So I would say the goals come about at many levels, right? So at a very high level, impact is the goal, right? I mean, how much we can impact things the way they are, make them better. So it's kind of a fuzzy goal, right? But that's kind of ultimately the goal, you could say, in many ways, trying to build kind of a new age, tech, tech first, intelligence first product. And then you sort of cut the goals down into smaller, chunks.
Right.
So, and the goals evolve, so it's not that the goal always stays the same. At some level, it stays the same, right? I mean, there's something in your head, as founders, entrepreneurs will always have some idea, much better, it's much clearer than anyone out there would know. But in more practical terms, it evolves, the same iterative thing happens. So when I started out, I was very happy. I mean, I just wanted to build intelligent products. Yeah, so that was, I mean, I was like, yeah, I mean, that's what I want to build. Let's just go ahead and do this thing. And I remember, like, when we started, I told one of, the engineers, who's on the team, I said, look, 70% will fail with what we want to do because it's a very, very hard problem. But that's going to be the fun of it because this is what I want to build. Then at some point when we had that product, we could say, I mean, like I said, it still had a lot to improve, but we could say that, yeah, this product is now reasonably intelligent. So then the goal sort of became, can I build a team, or an org? That'll be great if we can do that. So when that started happening, so like we've always been strong on the building side, not as much on the selling side. So then it became, can we build a successful, like a monetarily successful org? So those kind of the levels, how goals kind of evolve a little, but ultimately it's been about, here's a very large opportunity to impact the way things are. Things are very staid, very old fashioned at some level. Making software is going to and is driving pretty much everything in the world. Software is still not very intelligent, so we always think about, can we make software intelligent? Start with one piece, go to another piece, but that's sort of the end goal.
Yeah, it's amazing, like listening how it trickled down all these things and got into a place, right? And when you talk about an entrepreneur's journey, funding is something which is very crucial for any person to be successful or any startup to go ahead. And when you were building these amazing products, how was your experience pitching those products to investors and getting those funding, those initial fundings? What was that experience? What kind of days those were?
Well, it's a pretty eye-opening experience, first of all. So we definitely haven't had it easy with funding.
Right.
So that also depends on many factors, what you do and where's the market. So we've always been very, very tech focused.
Yeah.
So like what we're doing with Frrole, it's not path breaking, it's things. There are other marketing analytics, social analytics products. We're obviously trying to do it better. We do it better, but it's an iteration. What we do with Humantic is pretty much, what you'll call, VCs, investors will call it a segment creating play. So you're almost creating a new segment. So that's very hard to do. So India is a pretty bad place to do something like that. So Indian investors, VCs, angels, institutional, they don't have that much appetite for technology products. Now, technology products, technology first products, let's just say, the difference is that they have their gestation period is longer, right? So when we look at, for example, self-driving cars, Google's been doing them since 2008, right? They're still not around. People thought maybe they'll be around by 2020. Now it looks like much later, perhaps. AR, VR, we've been hearing for a while, still not mainstream, far from it. So those are popular technologies, but any new technology, the investors here don't have an appetite. Also because there's a lot of low-hanging fruit in the Indian market. So, because it's a very large market, very fast-growing market. So there's a lot of, dhanda businesses you could build out there. I mean, like I said, find a problem, go after it, you will, build pretty large businesses, if you can solve the problem well. So that's definitely a big challenge. I mean, we've raised some money, mostly angel money. There's a certain way you go about doing that thing, so some people do it better, some not as much. I mean, that's I would say something you got to keep in mind, when you start looking at investments.
As you talk passionately about what you're trying to build and these new technologies is coming into foray. So what kind of suggestions you want to give to budding entrepreneurs who wants to start something of their own, wants to leverage these kind of technologies,
Sure.
to build up something which can have an impact on in existing scenario? What kind of suggestion you want to give to them?
I think 2-3 things are fundamentally important. The most important thing is a very, very basic thing we all know, but should be reiterated. Just start. Don't wait. Just start. What you want to do, you'll never have perfect conditions, right? You'll never have the perfect co-founders. You might not even have one like me. You will never have enough money. You'll never have enough of a safety net. None of that. So just start. Yeah. Of course, understand whatever you're trying to do, understand it well. Yes, just start is fine, but not one fine day you wake up and say, let's do this thing, right? It's good to learn about the problem that you're trying to solve, the market, the environment, so that you don't end up wasting, your time. I mean, so, these are all smart people here, so it's not very hard to analyze and learn something, spend a few weeks and then, dive into it, but you got to dive into it. You cannot not start. It's not going to be easy starting up. I mean, I've done hard, silly, foolish things, and it's easily the hardest thing, I've done. So it's going to be very, very hard. Expect that. Very few people get lucky. Very, very few. Don't count on getting lucky. Most likely you'll not get lucky. And so be mentally very strong. Break every problem down, because otherwise you just can't solve problems. Like I said earlier, it will not become perfect in one go, but break it down, let it kind of get iterated itself and solve that thing. And I think that's just starting off. And then from how do you succeed? It's a very, very you've got to be strong on both building and selling fronts. Yeah. So there are people who sell well but can't build well. They do fairly well, reasonably, early on, but later on, if there's the strong foundations not there to whatever you're doing, whether it's a tech product or a non-tech product, you will not excel. You'll struggle with differentiation. You'll struggle with becoming big, if that's what your goal is. But on the other side, so building is important. But on the other side, selling, being able to sell, being able to tell a story, right? So that's also very, very critical. So we spoke about fundraising earlier. The story, really, it has to be something that people understand, they connect with, they can, they get excited about. Same when you go out hiring, same when you go and meet customers. So that storytelling ability, like people always talk about, so Steve Jobs and storytelling and all of that. I mean, there are other great storytellers too, but storytelling, essentially being able to sell. So I think those are 2-3 things. But first of all, just jump off the bridge, take a dive. Otherwise, you'll never start off.
Wonderful. So it was very nice to hear Mr. Amarpreet, and we hope that ECell and our viewers will be benefited from this. These advice.
I hope so. Yes.
Yeah. And we are hoping to see you again soon on our campus.
Let's see when that happens. But thank you so much for having me here.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thanks, Sanjay.